Hi, folks. I hope you're doing well. It's 20 past 12 in the AM. Yes, now the 12th of July, 2020. Well, yeah. This is just a video. Well, I watched that film earlier, Greyhound. Really tough. Tough to watch. Yeah, my generation, we've been incredibly fortunate in a sense that we've not been involved in a war. Lived in a war. Well, not a world war, at least. Yeah, so we can't imagine really the sacrifices that were made and the fact that human life was viewed as so worthless. You know, it wasn't a case where your own side viewed you as worthless, but the other side certainly did. Yeah, terrible situation. Even that film, you have the ships and the convoy coming over from the United States to Great Britain, or to the UK more likely, bringing supplies and soldiers as well to help. And the U-boats trying to stop that. Now you can understand it from the point of view of the Germans sending the U-boats to do that because of the fact that obviously you don't want your enemy being reinforced, because that means it's going to take far longer for you to beat them if you're going to beat them at all. You're less likely to beat them if they keep on getting reinforced. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's absolutely awful situation to say the least. I mean, you know, say you've got the ships there trying to locate the U-boats and they're trying to fire upon them, and you notice, I mean, in that how inefficient the shooting was. You know, when they're firing at the U-boat, how many shells they have to use to get a hit. I mean, it's ridiculous. You've got this thing in the water that's barely moving at all. Right? It's okay, you're moving a bit, you're listing a bit, but you know, as soon as you fire that weapon, it's just going to go straight. It's not going to verge. It's just going to go straight, and it's going to go pretty quickly. So, how can you not aim? Why was he aimed so awful? Because basically, let's just fire a ton of these things and hope we hit something. I mean, you're amazed that anything ever happened with that, you know? Absolutely amazed. Sorry, just a yawn, yeah. Well, it is getting quite late. Took the dogs out earlier. Mollie had a good run, but she was dying to get back to her pups. Yeah, run back to the car faster than she ever would normally. So it's like, right, okay, let's get her back. She knew exactly, and then as soon as we got here, as soon as I opened the boot of the car, I told them to wait just in case that dog was out next door. And she took no notice, straight down. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Then when they eventually do hit a U-boat, everyone cheers. And when everyone cheers, the captain of it, was there anyone not cheering? He recognised it was that there were people in that U-boat that are now dead. Then they're going to drown or blow up, one or the other. Most likely drown. So yeah. Now look at that picture, isn't that gorgeous? You've got the little bird on the right looking up at the two big ones there. That was a wonderful photo to get. Beautiful. So that was just one of those moments that you couldn't try and plan that. That was just perfect. With that one looking up at the bigger birds like that. That is just fantastic. Anyway, yeah, back to the thing. Yeah. And then you've got the U-boats firing on the ships, and you've got this little battle going on because, of course, the protector boats, they need to get the U-boats because obviously the boats containing the supplies and the soldiers, they don't have much in the way of weaponry at all. So you've got those boats, and you've got the battleships, and the mini versions of battleships. No idea what they were called. But them sort of patrolling, trying to protect sheepdogs trying to protect the sheep from wolves. And they're sort of going around herding and trying to protect these sheep. Chasing away the wolf here and there. But when there's loads of wolves and only a few sheepdogs, it's quite tricky, especially when they're coming from all different directions. And that's what was happening. And as soon as you see something explode, you're like, oh my god, more people dead. And then right at the end, when the ship Greyhound is going off to port and leaving the other ships under the control of the English destroyer now that's joined them. When they go past the ship with all the troops, and the troops are saying thank you. When you're looking at that moments like that would have happened. And those people saying thank you, some of them would have been dead just weeks later. And that was what the war was about. And that's how awful and terrible the war was. You could be truly thankful that your life was saved, and then a week later you'd be dead. Imagine living in that time. Imagine being in that situation. How on earth would you cope with that? Awful, awful, awful. I did the video about how the 1940s was to blame for a lot of what's happened since. And saying there that the men and the women, the husbands and the wives, were expected to come back to normality after the war, which just wasn't possible. I mean, if you were a husband and a father who was sent into war, and you witnessed how cheap life was, how vulnerable we really are, how easy we can go from being alive to being dead, from being here to being gone. And you've seen the horrors of people being blown up, of friends of yours having their legs blown off, and then you're expected to go home and be a daddy. How on earth are you going to do that? It was ridiculously stupid of the people in charge. I mean, that's the people in charge after the war really failed to see the immense psychological issues that were going to be there for both the men and the women. Because, of course, for the women, the mothers, they'd gone to work, and now they were told, get back to be chained to the kitchen sink, to be mum and wife, no longer worker, but mum and wife, that's it. And of course, they didn't want to do that. They tried. Oh, they tried, but if you've had freedom, why would you want to be locked up again? If you've had freedom, you've had it. Yeah, as I say, that to me is again ridiculously stupid. You can't expect for females who have experienced work and the joy of work. Because it's not just a fact of you're at the house all day now, which is good. You go back later, maybe to look after your kids if they're still there. Because obviously in the war, an awful lot of children were sent into the country. Yeah. So if you lived in a city and you were a mother, then quite likely you would go home and your children would be gone and your husband would be gone. You'd be going home to an empty home quite often. So, yeah, you go to work and you'd earn some money. But you'd also have some work colleagues, some people that you shared that with, which for a lot of women was completely new. Yeah, certainly that type of work, industrial work, something that really women weren't involved in any way, shape, or form. On the shop floor, that was men's work. Before that, absolutely, yeah. Because it was dirty work. It wasn't something that women would get involved in because it was dirty work. Yeah, it was greasy, it was mucky, it was heavy stuff. So no, women didn't want anything to do with that. But of course now they're doing it and they have a sense of achievement. They're doing this stuff and they're doing it well. But then you're told, no, go home. And you're in a situation yourself that if you are in a major city, certainly if it's London, by the way, then you're being bombed most nights. Certainly in parts of the war, towards the end, you're being bombed most nights. Or was that towards the end or in the middle? You had the Battle of Britain, didn't you? You had all the German planes come over trying to bomb the crap out of the city. I mean, imagine that. And then you go down to the underground and you've got all these people and they're singing songs and they're having a party down there while all around them is bedlam above. Some people dying because they didn't get to the shelters quick enough. But they're making the most of it. Imagine that. How weird would that be? You've got bombs going off all around you. You get down into this area. the underground. And you got people making the most of it. Having fun. Having a bit of a knees up and all that. It's like, okay, that's a bit weird. As you do. That time is just beyond us. We just don't get it at all. We don't understand it. Thankfully, we don't understand it because we never went through it. But that, whenever I see anything like that, it's utterly and totally shocking. Really, really is utterly and totally shocking. The complete lack of respect of human life. It is astounding, to say the least. That a U-boat sank, or the equivalent in whatever position people were in the war, on dry land or on the sea, and people cheered. They cheered. On dry land, if a ridge was taken, and all the German soldiers were killed, you could take the ridge. People would cheer because you've got 100 meters further up the hill. The important point you've been fighting for days has been won, even though 100 people have just been killed. That's so nice. 100 people that really, they didn't hate you. They never knew you. You didn't hate them because you never knew them, but they're dead and you're cheering. It's something that we who had never been through that could never really understand. We couldn't. Now we live in a time when we live in a time when the left is trying to cancel people because they don't like what the person's saying, or they're having a go at an actress because she's going out with someone who might be a Republican. So they're trying to get her sacked from the TV program she does, and to make sure that she can't be in anything else because she's dating someone who might be a Republican. I mean, it's just insane. When you think about what was important to society in times of war, and now we've got this stupidity that's going on a continual basis. It is madness. Utter madness. All this trans stuff is just insane. And all this protesting. I mean, to me, so many of these protesters are coming out because of the virus, because they're bored, and because they can get out and they can do something with someone else. They can meet in groups of people, do something together, which on lockdown you're not supposed to do. But thankfully for these people, George Floyd was killed. And I do think it is a case that thankfully for these people, George Floyd was killed. It gave them the excuse to get out of the house and mix with other people and protest and riot and get rid of all their frustrations and their angst and do a bit of looting, destroy a few statues, and use the excuse that this man died in a terrible way. Because he did. What happened to George Floyd was awful. But people use that as an excuse to come out and potentially risk catching a virus that could certainly harm, if not kill, a number of people that they know. But it's more important to them that they get out. As I say, I mean, these people that would answer that and say, no, they really went out because of what happened to George Floyd. I'd say, well, okay. Pre this virus, when other cases happened and the police killed a brown-skinned person in America, did you go over to America to protest? Of course, those in the UK who are protesting would have to say no. Certainly 99.9% of them would have to, because they didn't. But if it was that important to them, they would have gone over, wouldn't they? They would have gone over and joined the protests over there. They would have gone over, booked a holiday, and spent those 2 weeks of holiday protesting over there. Because it would have been that important to them. But no. It clearly wasn't that important to them. I mean, let's not say it's not important to anyone, because it is. Seeing what happened to George Floyd would understandably make a lot of people want to protest. Of course it would, yeah. Yeah. Certainly people in the area, and certainly people who live in areas where there's been a lot of this sort of stuff happen in the past. Yeah. They would want to, yeah. I mean, yeah, why on earth you need Black Lives Matters on the boards around every football ground, I don't know. It's not as if the majority of people in the UK don't believe that the lives of brown-skinned people actually matter. Because pretty much they do. Absolutely. I've never actually met someone who didn't believe that a brown-skinned person's life didn't matter at all. And they weren't worthy of life or living or being respected as a human being. So we really do need to, I was going to say, get our priorities right. The problem is that in a way, what we've been missing is a world war. Because if you have one of those every 40 to 50 years, that would be useful. It would be very useful, because I guarantee you, if the last World War would have been 20 years ago, and it would have been bad, and it would have been similar to the Second World War, we wouldn't have all this leftist stupidity trying to cancel people. That wouldn't exist. All this stuff about trans stuff wouldn't be such an issue. People painting level crossings in a rainbow colour, wouldn't have had any of that at all. Because people's minds would be focused, because we'd have just have gone through 20 years ago something horrendous together. We wouldn't want to be picking fights over something you said on Twitter 20 years ago. We wouldn't care about that. We wouldn't, want to bring up all this stuff about, well, trans people aren't protected. Trans people want to be counted as women. Yeah, that would have been laughed at immediately. Yeah. When people have got more important things to think about, they'd look at that and say, excuse me, what? Yeah, of course, trans people should have the right to choose what life they want to live. if they want to be transgender and go from male to female or female to male, then go for it. Your life. If you feel happier that way, then okay. Yeah. Okay. You've made your decision. It's not illegal, so okay. Simple as that, really. But to say that you, who was a male, now a female, should be able to go into women's changing rooms and change there, I'm not sure. Don't know. That's a tricky situation. To say you should be able to compete against women in all female events, no, you shouldn't. Yeah, generally speaking, you are going to beat the crap out of most women in most events, really, because of your strength and your power, which you've had for all those years as a male. It's not suddenly going to disappear. You know, the muscles you have and everything, it's not suddenly going to disappear. So, no. And then to say that if you want to be considered as them or they rather than he or she, and it should be against the law for somebody not to use that verb, again, no, excuse me, what? You decide to call yourself something completely different to what's been accepted within society for thousands of years, and anyone who doesn't actually agree with that is breaking the law and should be seen as breaking the law and suffer a fine or some sort of prison sentence for doing that. So, excuse me? What gave you the impression that that would be something that you should be doing? That is just insane. Completely and utterly insane. It makes no sense at all. As I say, but in a world where we've not had a war, we've not had anything like that for a good 80 years, 90 years really, 85 years since the last one started. Yeah. It's understandable that society has gone the way it's gone. You've got this leftist stuff and people are concerned about things that are utterly and totally ridiculous. So what someone said on Twitter all these years ago, so what? So what? There's far more important things to be concerned about. Far more important things to be concerned about than that. Yeah. So let it go, drop it. All that stuff, grow up. Realise that it doesn't matter. There really are far more important things to worry about than all that sort of stuff. And trans, I think, generally speaking, from what my understanding is, most trans people aren't that bothered about all these so-called trans issues. It's not the trans people that are so worried about it, it's the leftist or the extreme left people who are trying to make an issue out of it. Yeah, because it raises money for their concerns. Basically puts money in their pockets. Anyway, that'll do for now. It's nearly half an hour of recording, so I think that's plenty. You take care, God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.